I think I might be just running out of memory space on my camera, so I'm just gonna whip one off here. Um, Black Lives Matter types, the ones that wrote the 1619 Project, are saying that the United States is founded on slavery. Um, I think that that is true in a big way that will be surprising to a lot of people. It's astounding that this isn't known. Um, you sort of have to ask yourself, how would a nation form in the first place? You've got all these, you got hunter-gatherer societies or whatever, and they have that kind of an organization, and I guess they could reciprocate with each other, they could trade with each other, and there's some benefit. But quite often, the way that they're knit together is to face some sort of threat, either from another people or from nature. So China, a big part of the formation of China was just around people had to cooperate to control flooding, because China has big flooding issues. Um, there's the old expression, blood and soil. So in most nations, say for example Japan, they're a blood relation, and they feel attached to their soul, to the soil, to the land in Japan, and that brings them together as a nation. Western countries that are going to be based on principles such as democracy are unique in the world. You don't have to be from Canada, you don't have to be European to be Canadian, you can be from anywhere. In fact, as a European, you're in some sense, second-class citizen. Your ancestors screwed up the Aboriginals. The people coming in didn't screw up the Aboriginals, and they can point a finger at you and call you racist. You're getting it from both sides. No good deed goes unpunished. I'm not saying that every immigrant to Canada does that, but they're trained to do it as soon as they get here. And a lot could just think we're absolutely crazy. They're the best Canadians. They say, why are you destroying such a great country? So in a sense, they're the best Canadians. Okay, but with the United States, the thing that brought the United States together as a nation was a military challenge that they rose to in the Mediterranean. And what was happening is that Islamic pirates had been picking off villages along the coast of Europe, I think, from Greece to Iceland. They'd just jump in there, grab some slaves, mostly women, bring them back. And that's probably why a lot of people from North Africa look white. They don't look black because they went to Africa and took black slaves, mostly men. And when they got to those Middle Eastern countries, they'd snip their nuts. So that's why you don't have so many black people in. They don't look like sub-Saharan blacks. And that's why. I mean, the world was a brutal place back then. The British Empire, the naval empire, was, in a lot of ways, a pirate organization. Okay, so what happened was that the United States wanted to trade in the Mediterranean. And they encountered this problem with Barbary Coast pirates and that. They would attack a ship. They would say, no, we control where you can trade and where you can't. And the United States said, no, we're going to go wherever we want, and you're not going to take us as slaves, and we don't really like you taking European people as slaves. And I think that originally the United States was pushed off. And what happened was when the Americans left, they asked them, what gives you the right to do this? What makes you think that you can go around in Europe and pick up sex slaves and tell us whether we can trade here or even come into the Mediterranean? And the answer that they got was, well, we're Muslims. And the United States didn't take too kindly to that. And so they went back, they formed a navy, and they came back and they defeated them. And that's what happens. That's a big part of how a nation is formed. A group of people see a common challenge. It's either natural or military. They realize they have to work together to deal with this problem, and in this way, a nation is formed. So, when they say that the United States is based on slavery, well, it's based on fighting slavery. In that instance, it's based on fighting slavery in the Civil War as well, obviously. White workers, not all white people who lived in the southern United States were wealthy. Most of them were dirt poor. The idea of trash came from England. England was taking out the trash, and they sent British people over. The idea of white trash has been around for a long time, applied to white people. Weren't originally called trash, but it became associated with white trash. You know what white trash is. There's such a thing as white trash. Except the things they do are pretty trashy, that's for sure. But they're polite. They're friendly and polite for the most part. So where is this going? How did we get here? Where are we going? I'm just questioning the narrative. Oh yeah. So now it's obvious that Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was ill-conceived. Joe Biden is becoming senile, and he's always been a weirdo. Andrew Cuomo, there's sexual assault allegations, and so he's out. And people are saying, well, Joe Biden was definitely worse, right? And so, why aren't they criticizing him? It'll come eventually. It has to come eventually. I mean, Joe Biden used to do things like he would have an FBI security service to watch over what he did, and he liked to swim in the nude. So it didn't matter if the FBI were females or married females. They had to guard him swimming around naked in a swimming pool. He has a real record of that kind of behavior. He is so creepy. Creepy old Joe. He's creepy, increasingly senile, and it has consequences. For women in Afghanistan, for women coming across the southern border, and probably women who are being brutalized as a result of the fact that some moron thought it would be a good idea to defund the police. It'd be lovely if the money that was going to fund the police could instead be funneled into something else. Of course, right? But if you defund them and the crime rate goes up, what do you end up with is probably more police than you started with. You're going to need it to clean up the mess. So, the feminist thing, he has a history of being incredibly forward and aggressive with women. He's driven Latin American women into prostitution, working for cocaine cartels. As a result of his hasty withdrawal from Afghanistan, women need to be afraid of being taken as sex slaves in Afghanistan. Have I forgotten one? I had 4 points. It's really obvious that the more that a man says that he's all in support of Me Too and all that, like I can imagine Joe Biden talking about that. the more a man declares that sort of thing, the creepier he is in real life. I think that that's been pretty well demonstrated. Okay, that's good.